Hello and welcome to Recovery for Life. I'm Chris Howard, your counselor at Midtown Health Wellness in New York City, and host of this weekly podcast where we discuss addiction and recovery and anything else that comes to mind. Here, of course, meaning equal, meaning we're on a level playing field, which means I'm in recovery myself. As of this past January, I've got 10 years clean and sober. I should note that it took me 18 years to get here. Relapse isn't required, but certainly isn't uncommon. Before we get going, it's important to mention that I am not a doctor. We are not here to dispense medical advice. We also don't advocate any particular course of treatment. Please speak with your physician regarding issues related to your specific medication or treatment plan. If you don't have a program and would like to discuss options, you can find Midtown Health and Wellness at nyc-doctor.com. This series of podcasts is essentially our group discussions on tape. The four others joining me are all part of the Suboxone program at Midtown Health. So one of our recurring topics will be everyone's personal feelings about medication-assisted recovery. The focus will not be so much on our past, our addictions, but how we're navigating our individual paths toward physical and emotional health. Putting down the substance is the first step. What happens next is recovery. Over the next 6 episodes, we'll be introducing ourselves, each program focusing on one of our journeys through addiction into recovery. Tonight, John will take the floor. But first, I'm going to virtually pass the mic and give everyone a few minutes to check in. So since John's going to go, let's start with Frankie tonight.
Hi, everybody. I'm Frankie. I've been with Midtown Health and Wellness for well over 4 years now. Happy to be here. I don't know. This week was another wild week at work. It's exciting. We have a new programming director, so our weeks are getting busier, which is great for business. It's great that we're making money, but it's all me by myself over here. So, I'm pulling some long 75, 80-hour work weeks, and I am a newlywed. So, I haven't seen my wife very much. We've been like ships in the night. But lucky for me, she's so incredibly supportive of me and everything I do in every aspect of my life, including my sobriety. So, that's just wonderful that in the small time that I have to get home, I have to see her. But nothing else, feeling good. My chef called me fat this week, so I am going to hit the gym. I'm starting to feel I'm not feeling very good about myself physically, and I feel I just don't feel energetic, and I know it's because I'm exhausted, but I'm going to take some advice. I'm going to start to hit the gym a little bit, and I'm going to focus a lot of my energy on getting myself into my body as healthy as my mind is. So that's about it. That's my quick check-in.
Sounds like a good plan. Audrey, you want to go?
Yeah, sure. Hey, it's Audrey. I've been with Midtown Health and Wellness for a little over 2 years. Currently checking in. I guess this past week has been rough because of an issue with a medication that my insurance doesn't cover it. So I've been off of it for a week. It's supposed to be for bipolar disorder. And, I'm not really sure if I am bipolar, but I think if it's not working and every time I go off of this medication, I start feeling very depressed and exhausted and just not like myself. I think that could lead towards me being bipolar, but so I've been dealing with a lot of exhaustion and depression, and I can't focus at work. I feel like I'm making a lot of mistakes, and I am trying to keep my hopes up that I can try and do something with my insurance company to get this med, but overall, I know I can get through this moment. It just sucks right now to feel like this. And Frankie brought something up about exercising. And I also feel like I need to exercise. That's something that is kind of constantly on my mind whenever I'm not being active. I feel like I just need to do it because it'll make me feel better. So, and like be healthier. So yeah, I guess those are some things on my mind right now. Overall, like still good, still okay. And I can stay positive, but there are some things that are affecting me negatively and that are not that fun to deal with. So that's that.
Thanks. Yeah, exercise. I agree. It's really important. Finding the time for it is not always so easy, especially when you're working an 80-hour week. But we do need to make time for ourselves. Hey, Amy, you want to check in?
Hi, I'm Amy, and I've been with Midtown Health about 3 years now. Awesome place with just some awesome people that's truly helped me, truly. And this week, it's just like any other week for me, really. I was asked if my sister was sending me drugs in the mail, and so I was like, no, she's not like that, like sort of defensive, like, I guess. It does offend me because I've tried so hard and I've changed so much that it's ridiculous. Like the person I was, y'all wouldn't even know. But so I just get tired of being asked those questions. And yes, my sister, she's addicted to cocaine, but that was never my thing. I can't do uppers. I can't. It makes me too anxious. And so, I mean, I can't drink a damn energy drink. It makes me I'm already hype person. And, it's just hard to live with someone that doesn't understand addiction, period. And, but the sunlight of my life is my daughter. And, so we have a great time. So, but anyway, that's what I'm fooling with. And it's good to see everybody. And let me tell you one thing, Mr. Frankie, you're very handsome. Very. And I'm just being real. You are a good looking man. And just saying that to a friend. And yes, exercise is good, but you're not fat. So please. Anyway, I need to exercise too, but it's too damn hot out there. So I've got an exercise bike that's made for a man, if you know what I mean. The seat is. So yeah, it hurts to try to exercise. But anyway, next.
Thanks, Amy. I needed that.
Thanks, Amy.
Thank you.
When we're all on video, everyone will get to see how beautiful everyone is in this group. So, I'm gonna check in and then we'll go to John. So I'm good. I had a crazy week, but life is pretty good. I have concerns, but nothing. In terms of what the past was, I think like what Amy was just saying. I'm not living in that anymore. That's not who I am anymore, and I can handle things these days that come at me. And sure, there are setbacks here and there, but I've learned how to deal with them. I learned how to bring it to my groups and to meetings and to other people who are sober, so we can talk about it because we've all been through things. I have the luxury of having people to be able to talk to in my life. So it helps me get through the tough days. Anyway, that's it. Things are pretty good though. And so I think, like I said in the intro, John, your check-in can be the intro to your whole story, I guess. Because we're going to do each week, somebody's going to take the floor and tell basically their whole story so that our audience can get to know each of us and we can get to know maybe even a little bit more about each other. And that way, when we have these discussions, people listen often, they'll know who we are and what we're about, and where we're coming from. So I'm going to just turn it over to you, John. Go for it.
Hi. Yeah. Thanks for the welcome, Chris. I'm John. I've been with Midtown Health and Wellness for over 3 years. My sober time now is 1 year and 9 months. I am part of the Suboxone program over at Midtown Health and Wellness. and Sublocade is a once a month injectable form of Suboxone, or buprenorphine. And it's been an instrumental tool for me to kind of get my bearings and really put my sobriety first and work on the core issues that I really needed to work on to get to the place I am today. So let me and relative to check in, I'm doing good. Got a lot of wedding planning stuff out of the way, and that's going to be coming up June 11th. So really excited. And so let's hop into the story. Yeah. So I'm 35. I'm 35 years old. It all began for me, I think, when I was like 13. I didn't come from I grew up with a good family, a good family background. I have two older sisters and an identical twin brother. And, I unfortunately lost my grandfather, who I was particularly close with, when I was 13 years old. And that kind of really led me into this depression. I started really like isolating as I went into high school. I kind of put on this really, I don't know, kind of try to fit in with everybody persona, and got my way through high school. By senior year, I was habitually smoking marijuana and drinking all day, every day. Didn't matter if it was Monday, Tuesday. It didn't matter if we're having a party or not. I just wound up drinking or smoking. I tried to go to college. I tried to do I don't know what you would call it, what everybody's told to do, right? You need to go to college and better yourself. I'm like, okay, sure. So I gave that a try. Unfortunately, I was getting picked on by my roommate and floor mates, and it was not a good time. So I ended up dropping out, and shortly afterwards, I ended up getting arrested. I got arrested when I just had turned 18 years old for marijuana. For weed, for cannabis, whatever they call it these days. But I got caught with an ounce of weed. It was, not all in one container, so they threw the book at me. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they threw the book at me. I had 5 Class A felonies and a misdemeanor. And 9 continuances later, I ended up getting my advanced rehabilitation. I had to do 250 hours of community service and complete 2 years of alternative incarceration. I did that. But in the first month of me getting arrested, I was not allowed to really leave the house. Couldn't really sleep or eat or do anything. And I think that was just due to the stress and anxiety from the court case and my inability to smoke weed. So one night I had remembered that I had some Percocets from some tooth operation. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I had Percocets, and I ended up taking one. And I thought I found the magic sauce. It was like eureka moment. I was like, wow, this is it. This is the substance that's going to take me away from all of my problems. I thought I had found, it was euphoric in a sense. It was really the essence of escapism. And I'll never forget it. So I mentioned I had an identical twin brother. He took the Percocet and he did not like it at all. I'm the only addict in the family. Drug addict, alcoholic in the family, and it's tough for me. All 3 of my other siblings were able to go to college and move on, get married, get careers, do all these great things. Me, on the other hand, I'm battling court cases, battling drug addiction, and trying to get my life together. And as time progressed, I was eventually able to get out of the house. And when I was, all my buddies, quote unquote, were doing oxys. This was circa like 2006, right? So oxys were all over the place, and I just fell into it. You know, I was really sucked into doing opiates, and I remember I was trying to find a job. I was in the local newspaper. They put me in with a crack dealer. I'm like, what? I was so embarrassed. Looking back on it now, you know, it's just I couldn't believe it that I was in the paper for all these. You know, they were trying to make me out to some big drug dealer, and I'm just this guy just trying to smoke weed. You know, and anyway, I eventually I finally got a job, and I was at work one day. And I was feeling off. I was like, what is, you know, I was yawning, my eyes were watering, my legs were kicking. I'm like, what's going on? I called my friend after work. I said, hey, you know, I'm not feeling right. This is what I'm feeling. He was like, yeah, that's, you're dope sick. I'm like, what? Excuse me? I'm like, I don't know what you mean. He's like, yeah, it's just withdrawal symptoms from not having opiates. I'm like, oh. And I was like, you know, can you get me some? So I got some, and it made me feel better. But, you know, at that moment, I'm like, I was like, man, this is scary. This is a problem. No, you know, I'd had no prior knowledge or information that would tell me, you know, hey, you're gonna get really sick if you take these. So yeah, it was not a fun experience, but anyway, as time went on, I found, you know, I found a doctor who would be able to prescribe me something to help with the withdrawals, and it was Suboxone. And I ended up getting on Suboxone when I was 19 years old, and yeah, I was on Suboxone for, from 19 to 27 years old. So I was on it for a long time. And actually it was about almost 10 years, because I got off of it in 2016. And in between that time, you know, I had all sorts of bad experiences. You know, I ended up in just some really bad scenarios where me and one of my ex-girlfriends were going to score late one night, and we got caught up in this turf war between these gangs up in Bridgeport, and it was really late at night. It was January. It was cold. I'll never forget it. We went to go see our dealer at the time, and we told him what we wanted, and we were expecting him to come out of the building, and we saw somebody come out, and next thing I know, there's a truck blocking our car in this parking lot in the projects. And I'm like, oh man, what is going on? And a swarm of guys just come around the car. They take the keys out of the ignition. My girlfriend at the time was driving. And yeah, they robbed us. They did some pretty horrible things, to say the least. Like, I'll leave it at this: sexually assaulted us, and beyond that. So yeah, I just remember at the end of it, it felt like an eternity. Really, it did. I remember running through the snow with no pants. They took my sneakers. I said, I'll never forget the guy. He was huge. He was like 6'7". I go to him. I was like, can we have our keys back so we could leave? And he's going through his big leather jacket. He's like, these are keys, these are keys, these are keys. Finally, like fifth or sixth set of keys, he was like, I was like, yeah, those are my keys. Like, and he takes them and he throws them at my face. He says, get the F out of here, boy. And I don't ever want to see you again. So we left. And that was a traumatic experience. But, you know, the addiction continued. You know, I cut ties with my ex-girlfriend after that shortly. And I ended up getting another job, and it was like a 9 to 5, desk job, and I found some success there, but I wasn't really, I don't know, I wasn't really, I guess. I wasn't really knowledgeable about addiction and what that really meant. I still was just on the Suboxone program, and I was kind of playing around with it. Like I would take it during the week when I had work, and on the weekends I would, Friday morning, I'd take a little bit, and then by the time I got out of work, I would go use, and I'd use for the weekend and repeat, rinse and repeat, and then finally, it was 2016, January 2016. It was starting to become very difficult for me to get, my substance of choice, which was heroin. And I was just saying, I was like, let me just try to, not use anymore and just stick with Suboxone. And I did. I ended up, stabilizing on 8 milligrams of Suboxone, and I came up with I did this all on my own, pretty much. The doctor was just prescribing me the medication. But I ended up stabilizing on 8 milligrams, and I slowly weaned myself off. And I took about a month and a half off from work, and I stayed home. I got down to like 0.125 milligrams. This is at this point they had strips out, it was no longer the stop signs, and it was a bit easier to taper. So I tapered off, and I just remember being on the couch, just waiting for like this like epic withdrawal to come, ensue, and it never came to pass. I had some really, really mild withdrawals, and when the energy finally came back to me, I went back to work, and about 6 months down the line, I started going through post-acute withdrawal syndrome. I didn't know it at the time. I know it now. But that ended up leading to a relapse. And I went on one of the worst runs of my life. This was a particularly bad run. Because at this point it was 2017. And by the time I drained all the money that I had saved when I stopped using, it was the beginning of 2018. And I checked myself into, at that point, I didn't know what to do. And I remember one of my buddies told me that, hey, you should try Detox. I was like, okay. So I looked around for a detox facility. I ended up finding one. I admitted myself, and I ended up doing that about 6 or 7 times before I committed to a full residential stay. And I did it. I did the residential stay. They tried to get me on Vivitrol. I remember I was down there in residential. They were trying to get me on naltrexone, which is the pill form of Vivitrol. And I had an awful, awful reaction to it. They said one of the worst they've ever seen, to the point where it was too dangerous to put me back on it. And I ended up leaving rehab, still sick and not right. And I was trying IOP, but I didn't last very long. And I was kind of running out of options. And I met somebody during that residential stay who lived a town over from me at the time. And he, when I met him, I was like, why are you here? He it looked like he dropped down from heaven. Like, I'm like, what, what, you have no withdrawals? He was like on vacation or something. I'm like, what did you do? How'd you do this? And he didn't end up telling me until my end of the stay there. And he said, oh, I went down to Mexico and I tried this experimental treatment called ibogaine. I was like, oh, interesting. So I did some research on that, and he ended up finding out through somebody that I ended up relapsing, and he called me. He said, you really should go down there and try that ibogaine. I was like, all right. So I was like, the residential didn't work, and the detoxes didn't work. I'm like, all right, sure. The IOPs didn't work. So I went down to Mexico and I did the ibogaine treatment. And yeah, I mean, it for the most part, I didn't have anything, I didn't have any withdrawals after the treatment. And I ended up coming back, and a few months later, I relapsed again. And all of this is, and I'll get to it, but I'll get to why this continued to happen. But at this point, I was like, you know what, forget it. I'm just gonna continue to use. I don't know what else to do. So I used up until. So we're heading into 2019 now, and it was December 28th of 2018. I'm driving back after I just scored some dope, and I had used. I come to find out the dope I had narfentanyl, fentanyl, and a bunch of other really strong opioids in it. And I had mixed that with some Xanax, and I OD'd while driving, and I ended up totaling my car. Luckily, a state trooper found me hanging upside down. It's not responsive. Then I get the jaws of life. They got me out of the car. They intubated me at the scene. I woke up in the ICU, and I had a really, really bad concussion. And I don't really remember much, but I do remember getting discharged from the hospital. And when I was discharged from the hospital, they gave me my property bag back. And in that property bag back, that I got back was my sneakers and jeans. Those were the only two items that I got back. I was like, where's my jacket and everything else? They said, it's all gone. We had to rip it off you to get you out of the car and rip the seatbelt off and do all this stuff. I'm like, oh, okay. So I go, I'm in the car ride home with my parents. And in the back of my head, I'm like, did they find the other 3 bags that I had in there in the jeans? Did they go through it? I was thinking that, and because there's that little pocket in your jeans. I don't know what it's called, but there's this like little pocket. That's where it was. So as soon as I get to my parents' house, there it is. I'm like, oh shoot, it's here. So I go do it immediately. I just got out of the ICU from an overdose in totaling my car. And from what my dad told me, the car saved my life. Like it was a brand new Subaru Impreza, but all the airbags went off. It was unrecognizable. And I was lucky to even survive that. And even after that, you would think that I would have, that would have been my wake up call, but nope. One more thing had to happen to me. One more thing. And after I had used those 3 bags, I fell out really, really hard because I hadn't used, because I was in the hospital for 3 or 4. I got released on January 1st, 2019. So I was in there 3 or 4 days, right? So my tolerance had gone down significantly. And I used those 3 bags and I instantly just fell out. I fell out right into just right on the floor in my parents' house. And my mom was in the kitchen. She heard gurgling, she said, down the hallway. So she calls my father up. She says, go check on John. He comes in the room. He sees me blue in the face. And my mom calls 911. Apparently, I was the 5th overdose that day in the town I was in. So the fire department got there first. They tried CPR on me. Couldn't get me back. Next was the police. With the police was the narcotics unit. But that's aside from the point. So the police get there. They try to Narcan me intranasal 3 times because at that point, my parents had disclosed that I was an opiate addict to them, and because they didn't know what had happened to me. I just got out of the hospital. There was no way I could have gotten drugs theoretically, right? Like I was with my parents when I got out of the hospital. They're like, how could you have gotten drugs? So they didn't know what was going on with me at first. So anyway, the paramedics finally get there, and the police communicate to them that, we tried intranasal Narcan 3 times, nothing, we got nothing. So they hooked up this big tube of Narcan to my left arm. And by the time I came to, it was empty. I had an outer body, I don't know what it was, a near-death experience where I was not here on Earth. I know that for a fact. And I don't know where I was. I was in a warm, welcoming place, and I had these two energies come up alongside me, warm, welcoming energies, and they were guiding me towards this light. And all I knew is that I had no body, nothing. It was just like my consciousness. I was just floating to, like, just getting closer and closer to this light that was off in the distance. And all I wanted to do was go through that light. And by the time I think it was like halfway there, I heard this like outer worldly voice say, "Now is not your time." And at that point, I started coming to. And, since I technically had died, like my vision everything had to come back online, like my hearing, my vision, all this stuff, right? So like I knew that like the voice wasn't external, right? Wasn't somebody that was like whispering that in my ear when I was on ODing, So like I come to, they're shaking me, they're screaming my name, John, John, John. I'm like, I finally come to, and I'm like, whoa, what's going on? And they were scared that I was going to get up and like, start going crazy, because that's what typically happens when you get Narcan. That didn't happen. I was still like really, really doped up, and I was really just like lethargic and kind of really non-responsive. And they're like, "We got to take you back to the hospital." I'm like, no. I don't need to go back to the hospital. I just came from there. What about that guy? I know, right? Like, luckily, I had no choice in the matter, and they take me, and they Narcaned me another 2 times on the ambulance ride to the hospital. And I got to the hospital. I was under monitoring or supervision for about an hour or 2, and they finally let me go. And I got back home, and at that point, I'm like, I had remembered the faces I saw in there was 15 people in this tiny room in my parents' house, but I'll never forget the faces of my parents, what they looked like as they were standing in the hallway, not knowing if their son was going to be pronounced dead or not. For this is the second time in a matter of 3-4 days where I pretty much died, right? So I don't know what that, I don't know. It just hit me that, I saw them, their faces are still ingrained in my brain. It's just, I remember they were pale as a ghost and just so distraught and very, very upset. They just almost lost their son twice. I think what they told me when I got home was the paramedics were about to pronounce you dead. They were 10 seconds away from pronouncing you dead. And I was like, wow. And not to get too graphic, but like, how do I know I died? Like, when they say when you die, you go number 2. Yeah. So I was constipated. So I got really bad hemorrhoids from that. And it took months to heal, but that's how I knew. That was the indicator. I'm like, yeah, I was not here. It was the scariest thing that ever happened to me, or one of them. Or it was definitely the number one thing in the top 5 that happened to me, and that really is what made me say, all right, that's it. I just need to do a full reset on my life. I cannot do this anymore. I'm going to be dead. I can't do this to my parents. I can't do it to my family. Can't do it to myself. Right. It was like that. Like, I don't know, punch in the face moment. When you're like, it finally hits you, when I was saying before, like, you would think. Now I know that this is no joke, right? Like, this is no joke anymore. My life is on the line, and I don't want to die. I really don't. And that sunk in. It took a little bit, but it sunk in and it hit me. And I'm like, all right. I sold my condo. The car was already totaled, so that was taken care of. I quit my job. I liquidated my 401k to pay for treatment. And I shipped myself back out to rehab. I went through Detox again and went through rehab. And this is the place I had been before. And the medical director knew me. So he came up to me and he said, listen, John, we have something available that we want you to try, or we would like you to try. It's called Suboxone. I'm like, Suboxone? I'm like, what is that? He's like, well, it's a once a month injectable form of Suboxone. And I'm like, all right, sign me up. At this point, I just wanted to do whatever the medical professionals told me to do. Like, all right, tell me what to do. I don't know what to do anymore. Just tell me what to do. I will do it. And I did everything they told me. And I left there. I actually met my fiance, who I'm going to be marrying in less than 3 weeks, in rehab. And anyway, so I ended up, starting the Suboxone program and really taking my sobriety seriously. I checked myself into sober house, and I started doing like AA groups and sponsorship and all this. And I really wanted to be with, a few months had passed, and I really wanted to be with at the time my girlfriend, now my betrothed, my future wife. So I ended up I stopped going. I was like, all right, I'm going to end the sober house, and I figured out a way to transfer my services to Midtown Health and Wellness. And I'm so glad I did that, because it's been so instrumental in my recovery. It's been a very, very, very good tool for me to have. It comes with many tools, but you have to, like, for me, I have to use them. Like, it's one thing to have them, but you got to use them. Right. And, being able to have them at my disposal, and like knowing how to use them, and like getting acquainted with everybody there, and transferring like my Suboxone, and just getting accustomed to just living in the city, and kind of having my recovery there. Things were kind of working out. And then the pandemic hit. I literally had just transferred my all my stuff there. It's like, I don't know, a few months into my program, my Suboxone program at Midtown Health and Wellness, and the pandemic hits, and I couldn't, anyway, this was unfortunate, but I wasn't able to get my Suboxone shot. I was like 3 shots in or something like that, and I got put on Subsolve, which I had never been on before, and I think like month and a half had passed where I had tried getting on it, and I was on 300 milligrams for, a substantial amount of time. So like, I don't know, eventually that had worn off, and the withdrawals started to catch up, like the once a day form of Subsolve wasn't cutting it. And I was starting to get withdrawal symptoms, and I ended up relapsing, but I quickly was able to rebound, like within a month. Like I was, my fiance was sober, and she's like, you got to check yourself back into Detox and get back on Suboxone. And I'm like, yeah, I do. After I don't know, some talking to, but yeah, I ended up doing that in the middle of the pandemic before we had vaccines or anything. Here I am in detox again, trying to stabilize on Suboxone so I could get back on the shot. Like I really wanted to get back on the Sublocade. Like I was like, it was the only thing that was preventing me from using, and it eventually worked out. I didn't have a job at the time, so I had like Medicaid or Medicare or whatever it was, and I was trying to get my Sublocade shot arranged because what I had was Cobra, and that went away. And by the time I got out of detox, I had to get back on to some type of insurance. So like I'm doing all this in detox, like I'm figuring out all this insurance stuff, and Midtown Health and Wellness helped me huge with this. Like they helped me get on, Medicaid or whatever it is. And I was able to, they filed the paperwork needed to get my Sublocade shot, and they were able to get it to me. I stayed sober when I got out. I got a recovery coach and all this stuff. And anyway, I finally was able to get some semblance of stability, where I was like back on Sublocade and sober, and some consistent months of getting the shot. I finally was able to get a job, and I had this recovery coach at the place where I had where I did the rehab, and it was kind of complicated, or I don't know, it was kind of a hassle to have all my services, or like my services kind of split. So when I made a decision, I was like, all right, Midtown Health Wellness, can you do this recovery coaching that is being offered at this other place? Like they just do a once a month, urine analysis, and they check in with me, once a week. And they were like, yeah. And fortunate for me, I got Chris here as my peer counselor, recovery coach, and I made sure that I did everything I could to stay in touch with him, send him my gratitude, figure out address any underlying issues that were going on with me, because at the end of the day, the way I saw it was like, all right, I have 2 years of Sublocade, and that's more of just another tool in the tool belt. Like it doesn't. I had to work on my mental well-being. Like all the things that were wrong upstairs. Like I had to address those, like, and talk about them, as uncomfortable as they were. And when I started doing that, I realized, wow, having a support system is an integral part of recovery for me. And I know I probably can speak for others with this, but I'm just going to speak for me. I know that having this support system is so crucial. Like being able to check in with, Chris or whoever, I have another counselor at Midtown Health and Wellness, and, Dr. S, everybody there, just being able to just talk with them and work on all the underlying issues that led me to use to begin with, while I have this opportunity to do it, right? Like, because there's going to become a time where, I'm going to feel ready or confident enough to get off of Sublocade, and I'm not going to have that safety net, so to speak, right? So I need to be able to know how to use my sober network in a way where, it prevents me from using, like, and I have so much to look forward to now. I'm where my mother would worry about whether I was dead, alive, or in jail. Now she's worried about what's on my wedding registry. So it's a completely, 180, and it's really incredible. I'm really grateful to be alive. That's kind of like my mantra, like gratitude is my attitude. I wake up every day. I know it sounds cheesy, but every day I get up before work. I when I go make my coffee, I write down 5 to 10 things I'm grateful for. And that's how I start my day, and, between all the support I got from, I'm getting from Midtown Health Wellness and the groups and these podcasts and just being an active participant um, in the recovery network and in my support network, it's been really life changing. It's really changed my perspective on life, and I'm so humbled and grateful to be here. I can't tell you how nice it is to be able to bring my genuine, honest self to every situation now. You know, you know, I finally found the love of my life and getting married to her, and I got my dream job that I would have never thought I'd be able to get. I got it, and Chris can account for that. I remember he was helping me through that process because I had another job before that where I wasn't really challenged enough, so to speak, and I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. And so, with his help and motivation, I ended up finding a job, and perseverance prevailed, and I got it. And, I remember having a discussion, getting, at the beginning of this year, with some people, and they said, it's going to be a tough but rewarding year. And I'm like, yeah, all right, I'm up for that. And as the year has gone on, it has been tough, but it also has been rewarding. And there's so many good things to look forward to. I feel like, when I heard that outer worldly voice, some judgment had been passed on me where or this is what I like to believe, where, my purpose hasn't been filled on this earth, and I need to really acknowledge that and take that and really use it as my driving force to stay motivated, to stay sober, right? Because I need to do this for myself, right? Like this, if I can't help myself, I can't help others. I can't, none of that. I can't do none of that. So it's been really great to be able to find Midtown Health and Wellness and all the great people there, and stick with the program and really, really take my sobriety seriously and establish a sober network, because it's been, like I said, I know I sound like a broken record, but I'll kind of end it with this, but that sober support system for me has been such a great tool and such a great help that I'm really, really grateful for it. And I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be able to share my story with y'all and just tell you how it is. Life is great now for me. It really is. There's I put a lot of work in, and there's still a lot of work to do, but I need to be able to face my challenges without turning to a substance. And that's just the reality of the matter. Like I want to stay alive. I want to be alive. I want to see, I want to go through this human experience and make it to the end. So that's my story.
Thanks, John. That was amazing. Thanks for being incredibly honest. My takeaway, of course, is that, you're participating in your own life and your own recovery too, which is, something I hid from that in the beginning too, but really appreciate it. I want to go around and get everybody to just kind of relate a little bit to what you said. And Amy's got her hand up. So you want to jump in, Amy?
I just want to say that I am so damn proud of you. For real, John. You've been through it, son. And none of your family, could probably understand and wrap their heads around it. At least in my family, I got some, addicts. So they my family wise outside this home understand. But I just want to tell you, man, I'm proud of you. I am. And it was worth all that. Was it not worth it?
it was so worth it. I wouldn't change a thing. Thank you so much, Amy. I really wouldn't. Like all those struggles, trials, and tribulations, and really awful things that I've been through have made me the person I am today. I wouldn't change it for the world.
And you're a doll. You're just a doll. But I was going to ask you, like, you said you and your girlfriend had got mixed up somehow with that gang. You went to So then you broke up with her. Like, did you break up with her?
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like a mutual.
Got you.
Yeah.
It
was that bad.
It was bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just want to say, I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It's okay.
I'm sorry. But
Yeah.
dadgummit, you're an amazing person. Never forget that.
Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Who else wants to chime in? Frankie, Frankie, you want to say a few words?
Wow. Wow. That's quite a story, man. I mean, I think, at the beginning, I think, you got done kind of dirty with that, with the way they treated you, in the court system about marijuana. And I think that, back in the day, rather than, shun someone, smack them on the wrist, throw them in jail, put them on the cover, they should have offered you help. And, they should have seen that there's trouble here. Let me try, let us as the system try and help this young man rather than just, throw you out. And that's terrible, dude. Terrible. Oof. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was an awful experience. I'll never forget it. The judge, she wanted to make an example out of me. I'll never forget it. Like they started rattling off the charges, the prosecutor, and the whole courtroom went, ugh. And that was my first court case. I felt so embarrassed, and here I am. I'm just like, it's weed, right? Like,
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, we'll get into my thing, but I was in a conspiracy charge, and I didn't get, that's not how I was treated. And it's like, how can you pick and choose? Like, what's, like, who's, it's terrible. That's terrible. And again, you should have been offered help.
I know, I was only 18.
Yeah, you should have been offered help. And, that path that, that you were led on is just, I can relate so much. I was, sick to my stomach several times through that. But again, just like Amy said, just, you wouldn't be, you needed to, that was your path, and you needed to go down that path to be the human being that you are today. And this human being that you are today is now going to save other people's lives, hopefully. Your story will, hopefully save other people's lives. And, you're going to be the help that judge should have given you. That's what it is. Yeah, so.
Thank you, Frankie.
I agree with you, Frankie. That's really how it does work.
Yeah.
John, you went through all of that so that you can bring this story to other people. And, the hope is that we do help another human being somewhere along the way, and that our experience will benefit someone. And you are. I mean, you're doing it. You're here. You're showing up. I mean, out of, I talk to a lot of people during the course of my week, and John, you show up every single time for everything. And I really, that's what this is all about. It's about showing up for ourselves. We're showing up for each other too, but first and foremost, we're showing up for ourselves. That's what matters first. And you do it. I mean, you have from day one, from the first time we talked. I mean, you've never, ever missed, I don't think, a single appointment or group or whatever. I mean, you're always there, and you're always there for others too. And I think all of you guys, everybody here fits into that category. And that's why we're all here doing this, because you guys are all in that in that mode of, I've been through this. I want to help somebody else now. This is what I want to do with my life. We're all working, we have jobs, we have other things or whatever we're doing, but part of who we are is being that help to someone else, whoever that person is. We don't have to know them.
Yes, I thank you, Chris. I just wanted to bring up one thing, like life you cannot replace, right? It's irreplaceable. Materialistic things you can always replace. That's what what I have learned through my experiences. Like, when I had those overdoses, I was like, you know what good are what's good? What good is my condo? What good is my job? What good is any of these things if I can't even, if I can't even stay alive? Like, what good is it? So, that's why that's why I'm so passionate and driven to show up, because I want to be here. I want to make a difference. Like, it's what I want to do, and I'm glad. Thank you for acknowledging that, Chris. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Audrey, we haven't quite heard from you. You want to put something?
Yeah. Yeah. So John, I feel like the first meeting I went to with you, I was like, this guy is great. I feel like you're just very courageous and you are very inspiring. And the fact that you've been through so much and continue to grow and learn from everything that you've gone through is just, I don't know, it's amazing to me, honestly. And I wanted to add one more thing. Like you mentioned a lot how you make these like lists of what you're grateful for. And during this week when I was struggling a lot, I'm starting to make like mental lists of everything I'm grateful for. Cause I'm like, okay, what does John say? Like trying to think of what can make me feel better in this moment. And I don't know. I appreciate that you are, so what's the word? Like courageous and also passionate about helping others and helping yourself. I think you really need that passion in order to succeed in recovery and in life, I guess. So yeah.
Thank you, Audrey.
We need to
You're welcome.
Chase our recovery the same way we chase the drugs. That's how this works. And Audrey, write that stuff down. Write the gratitude list. Don't leave it in your head. Write it down. It's important. You can see it on paper and keep them. You can keep them. You can keep them a file of all of that stuff because it changes. We're grateful for different things and different days, different weeks, different people.
And I'd like to add, for me, there's something therapeutic about putting the thoughts to paper. Like and then being able to go back and look at it, like, what was I grateful last year? You look through it and you're like, wow, I've come a long way. It's pretty cool. But anyway, I just want to throw that out.
It is. It's a great thing to do. And I'm glad we get to do this tonight. I'm glad we're starting on this road. Next week, somebody else is going to be on the main stage. We'll draw straws next week to see who that is. We have, 6 of us total. Benny's not here tonight, but hopefully over the next 5 successive weeks, everyone will get their turn. And then by the time we're done, our audience will know exactly who we are and why we're doing all of this, which I think will make a lot of sense. So let's do a little quick gratitude before we close out tonight. Amy, you want to go first?
Why not? Okay. Today I'm grateful for my family, of course, and my new family, which I consider. I really do. I would do anything I could for y'all. And I appreciate you and your stories. They help me, and I can relate. I'm like, yes, I know. Like, when the judge did that, so I just appreciate all y'all. I appreciate my family.
Thanks, Amy. Frankie, how about boy, girl, or girl, boy?
Sure. As always, I am super grateful my loving, caring, and understanding wife, for putting up with me and being a good groom. Grateful for my family. Normally, you guys know, always good to close this one out with a joke. But I am rattled today. John has got me rattled. So I will say I just made a list and I am grateful for all you sons of bitches. So yes, I just made a list. Very grateful. Thank you guys. Thank you, John, for that share.
Thanks, Frankie. Audrey.
Yeah, John, I'm very grateful that you are so honest and for that share today and for all of your shares. I'm grateful for everyone here for always being honest and kind and genuine. Those are some very good qualities to have, and insightful. So there's that. I could go on, but I'm also grateful that I have the support system that I do, because even when things get tough for me, like I know I'll never be in as bad of a place as I was when I was using. So, yeah, I'm grateful for like what I have now, how far I've come, and my support system.
Yeah, man, I am certainly grateful for all of you. John, I am grateful for your honesty tonight. I know we've talked about these things in the past, but I also want to say how grateful I am for the trust that you've put in me and in us, because it takes a lot of trust to be able to come here and talk about these things. And obviously putting it out into the world, which is, it takes, I think all of us, in turn are going to do this. We already have had plenty of discussions, very honest ones that anyone listening is going to be able to pick up on, right? Anybody can hear this. And that's showing up. Let me tell you, that's not just showing up for ourselves. That's showing up for anybody who can use a hand or a kind word. And that's what we do here. That's really what we do. Like I say, I'm very grateful for the trust. I really am. More next week. We'll draw straws next week to see who's next. And we'll take it from there. So again, thanks everybody. And thanks to anyone out there listening, and whoever wants to, as I always say, if they want to share about anything they've heard, send us a note through one of the various available channels. I think now we're on YouTube, Spotify, and a bunch of others. Send us a note. Let us know what you think. And that's it for this week. Thanks everybody again for all your honesty and for your shares and your gratitude and your trust. And have a great rest of the weekend. Okay, there's not much left of it, but we'll see you guys next week, and I'll see you all during the week. All right, take care. All right.